Hey Patreon, this is Travis. Thank you for stopping by to watch. I am in one of the chicken runs today, and we're going to talk about food meat independence, becoming independent with your food. And I'm going to specifically talk about these chickens, but I'll also mention some other things, and these are the things that we're doing here and why we do the things that we do. So there'll be lots of little tips in this video. I hope for you. These are Cornish Cross hens, and these are the type, you may have raised them, or at least heard of them. And these are the type of hens that get really big really fast. And there's a reason why. This isn't a normal animal that we raise, but there's a reason why we did that. And I will get to that in just a minute. This year is different. Hold on a second. I don't know if I latched the door. All right, you see me out here in my shorts and flip-flops. This year is different, obviously. Things have been crazy, and I knew early on, not because I'm extra brilliant, I just was watching things, how things were going, and I told my wife early on that I had a gut feeling that things were going to be bad this year in the whole food market and everything. I just felt that we needed to kind of kick our prepping into more of a higher speed than what we normally do, which it's always a focus in our life. I mean, it's not all we focus on, obviously, but it is definitely something that we are consciously aware of, and we actively, work towards it all the time. But this year, I thought things are different. We need to do everything we can to become a little bit more prepared. And so we decided to go with these chickens. I have raised them in the past, and to be honest with you, I don't enjoy it. There's nothing that's... The only benefit is that you get meat faster. That's it. In every other possible way, I think, personally, I dislike raising these Cornish Cross hens. These Cornish Cross, number one, they're cheap. So I guess that's an added benefit. They're usually much cheaper than your regular old laying hen. Typically, these I got a good deal. I paid half of what just a regular old chicken, a little over $1 a chick for these things. They are ready to butcher, can be ready to butcher in 7 to 8 weeks. Whereas a typical chicken, even a typical kind of dual purpose or meat bird chicken, can take 4 or 5 months before they're really at their optimal butchering weight. So you're raising them a lot longer, and that means more time that you're feeding them. So those are some obvious benefits to raising these things. The negatives are really quite large, and I know you're probably going to see this and say, man, is he trying to talk us out of getting these chickens? No, I'm not trying to talk you out of it. I'm just trying to warn you, because I've heard so many people had bad experiences with these things, and a lot of it is because maybe they've never raised chickens, or they've only raised your standard, laying hen that can be eaten also. And these things are really a different thing. It's a lot of different stuff that you have to do to raise them properly. Number one, I want to dispel a myth. They're not some like genetically modified, altered type bird. All it is a crossbreed between two types of chickens that started back, I believe, in the 60s. This guy, and from what I read, it was kind of an accident that he discovered it between a Cornish hen and I'm sure someone will chime in what it was, but I can't remember the other type, and that's where they come up with this breed. So what they do is they basically eat. They eat, they poop, and they sleep. And they do a lot of eating and a lot of pooping. The standard way of raising them is you make sure they have access to food 24/7 from the moment you get them until the moment you kill them. The problem is with that is they will grow so rapidly that at around 7 weeks, maybe 8 weeks if you're lucky, they're going to just start falling over dead. True story. I've seen it happen. They're their bodies put on so much fat and meat that their organs don't develop, and they can't handle it. Their legs, they aren't able to walk because they grow so fast. So I would never advise doing that. I kind of feel that that's just not it's not humane to do that. So what we do with these guys is, for the first 2.5 to 3 weeks of their life, they have access to food all the time. And I use a type of chick grower that has no antibiotics, no medicine in it. And they have access to that, like I said, 24/7. And they need lots of water because they're eating a lot. They need a lot of water to flush that. Then after that time, I cut back to they have food and water 12 hours a day. And I do that for probably another 2 or 3 weeks. And then I cut back to where they have food and water, food access to about 8 hours a day. And even at that, it's not so much that I'm feeding them constantly. I feed them really heavy in the morning, give them something in the afternoon, and then I feed them heavy, a couple hours before I put them up for the night. And these birds here are almost 10 weeks old. Have not lost any. We've been butchering them. I butchered some yesterday, and I think I've got about 20 left. I've got one pecking at my foot. I think I've got about 20 left, and they do move around. You're seeing them kind of chilling here, but they can get around totally on their own. They can actually fly just a little bit off the ground, and sometimes I let them out in the yard and they run, and so they can get around really good, which makes a healthier meat, a healthier bird, obviously, and I believe it just creates a better life for them. As opposed to just, feeding them till they fall over dead or you butcher them, one or the other. Now, like I said, they produce a lot of poop too. You're feeding them a lot, they're pooping a lot. And they can eat an astronomical amount of food. At this point right now, they can easily put away a 1/2 to 1 pound of food per day per bird. They can eat a lot. They will just eat and eat. Their craw is just, it'll get so huge on the side of their neck. As much as it's like their only focus. It's so much their only focus that it's like they've completely lost any natural instinct. It's very difficult, almost impossible to breed them. I've heard of some people that have been able to get some mild success in breeding them. But they have to put so much time and nearly starving them to death to get them grow at a much slower rate, because when they get this big, their breasts are so large they can't actually hook up to mate, and they're really not interested in it at all. They are also lose their instinct of being aware of their surroundings and of possible predators. We raise chickens, ducks, turkeys, and guineas right now, and I have older adult birds, but we also purchased some chicks at the same time that we purchased these. And so those chicks are already free-ranging. They're 9-10 weeks, and they've been integrated with the rest of the flock, and they're free-ranging. And even at their age, they're aware that when it starts to get dark, they need to come into the coop. If a predator bird flies over, they're a little bit more aware of that. The rooster crows, they know to, seek shelter, get under a tree or something like that. These birds don't do that. When it gets dark out, if you let them out, they'll run out in the yard in pitch black darkness and eat. If there's food around, they'll eat. They don't care. So you have to make sure you have a good shelter for them. So they're let out in this run that has this sun netting that keeps predators out. And it's pretty secure. And then at night you can see the coop behind me, and that coop is really a solid built coop. It's got a floor in it, and the walls, everything. It's a solid structure. And so that's where they live. Again, they eat a lot of food and they drink a lot of water. I would really only advise doing this if you want a quick way to build up a lot of meat. We're putting away, out of these birds, we're putting 50 chickens in our freezer this year, just with these birds. And they get really big. Some of the ones I butchered yesterday, I butchered a couple that were almost 10 pounds. Literally 10 pounds. I couldn't believe it. They were so big. But like I said, I've let these grow a little longer because I gradually cut back on their food. And they have room to move around. So they're a lot healthier than if you just feed them until 7-8 weeks and butcher them. Typically I'm getting around 8 pounds per bird, and they taste really good. They're super tender, better than anything you're going to get in the store. But there's, like I said, there's some work to them. It's a little different, so you have to keep that in mind. And when it gets time to start butchering them, you need to get it done. They're really delicate when it comes to heat. It's starting to get fall here, so it's cool. But if it was the summertime, just this sunshade wouldn't be enough. You'd need to put some fans in here. They're kind of like rabbits, man. They can just die because of the heat. Even having the sunshade on it, they would need to have like at least 1 or 2 big old fans in here circulating it. But you can grow a lot of food really fast. So in 10 weeks time, I haven't even done the math yet, we're gonna have 50 chickens in the freezer at 8, so we're looking at probably 350-400 pounds, 350-400 pounds of chicken. But normally what we do is we hatch out so many of because all of our birds that we get on the property, well, all of our poultry and waterfowl, they're all dual purpose. They're good. They're typically pretty good layers, and they're also good meat animals. And we do that so that we can have the eggs, but then we hatch out so many offspring a year and eat them. They take a lot longer though, but we tried, and I have a couple of a breed of chickens. We have 4. Trying to think. Yes, we have 4 breed. We have Welsummer, Cochins, we have Faverolles, and we have Australorps. That's right. And the Australorps and the Cochins are really good at hatching their own eggs. They really like that. They go broody, especially the Cochins. Cochins, man, those things will sit on anything. And so I have some of those specifically for that, so that we can use the incubator, but I can put them under these chickens, these hens, and they will set and hatch them out. And then the chickens raise them. They integrate into the flock a lot easier that way. And then you're also not feeding them as much because we free range. And so during the day they free range. And so they're eating a lot outside, so it cuts down on our food bill and it makes them healthier birds. Of course, they have to live a lot longer, it takes a lot longer to get them up to optimal weight, but it's a much easier process. It's a mess. We're having to clean this run out every day or so. It's work, but in the end, we're putting up a lot of meat really fast. So depending on your circumstances, this might be an option for you to put up some quick meat. As far as the rest of meat independence on your property, I hunt, and probably, the kids hunt with me too. And if you, in certain states, like here in the state of Missouri, if you have a minimum of 5 acres, you can get landowner tags, which are free. And depending on how many people in your home are eligible to hunt, you could potentially get quite a few deer tags. And if your property's good property and you have the available deer, you could actually put away quite a bit of deer every year. Same way with turkey. And we have excellent. I've got a deer stand up in a clearing in the woods, and so that will also be food that we're putting up. Our other big source of food is sheep, and I've talked about them before, and they're something that I really push for homesteaders. Yes, I prefer beef. I just do. But sheep is good. I really love lamb. It's not bad at all. Cattle are, in a lot of ways, better because mostly they're easier. Once you have a fence up, a good fence, and you have enough food and water for them, you pretty much just turn them loose and they do their own thing. Certain cattle, the type of cattle that you might get for a homestead. And it's great for that. You don't really have to do a lot with them. You don't have to worry about predators, really. A lot of cattle are very resistant to disease and parasites. So unless they get hurt, usually or they're just ornery, usually you just turn your cows loose, your cattle, and about the only thing you might have to do is castrate them, the bulls and the steers, but you do that when they're young, and then you load them up and butcher them. So the negative side to it is they're a very large animal. And for homesteaders, a lot of times it's just too much for many reasons. Most small farm homesteaders cannot, produce or preserve and butcher and process the whole thing from start to finish, a steer or a heifer on their own, because they're so large. The amount of equipment that you have to use to hang it, to skin it, to cut it up, I mean, it's quite large. And so most people on their own can't do it. They either need help or they need some type of tractor or something that they can lift it up. It's a big process because of the weight of the animal. So you're dependent upon a processor to do that for you. The problem is, right now, and it's probably going to be that way for a while, they are backed up. I checked with the one here locally, and they're already booked up until next September. That's right, September 2001. So if I had a cow, if I had a steer, if I had a heifer that was ready to butcher right now, I couldn't get it done. I'd have to wait till next year. So that means I'm going to be feeding it and taking care of it for a year. And maybe that's not going to work into my budget. Maybe I need the food now. Maybe I really can't afford to feed this animal for a whole another year. So you're dependent upon that system. That's the big thing with the big animals is the cost. And then, of course, when you're done, you have a lot of food, a lot of meat. And for the average family, it's actually a lot of food to put up in 1 year. And if you start the process where you're raising them, even on the minimal side, you should probably have one to butcher every 18 to 24 months. And that's going to start getting to be a lot of meat. You're going to be giving it away, trying to sell it, doing whatever with it. Whereas with sheep, they're a smaller animal. The food's good. There's some of them are a little bit more delicate. We have Shetland sheep. They're much hardier. They're a primitive breed of sheep. We have some, and I've shown them. You guys have probably seen them on my videos, but we have dogs, Great Pyrenees, sorry. Brain paused for a second. We have Great Pyrenees with them, and they do an excellent job. Nothing goes in that field with Great Pyrenees. And it's the same thing, food and water. We do worm them regularly, but they're a very hardy breed. They produce wool, so that's a good benefit, and it's a really good quality wool. And if you wanted to get into the point of spinning it, making yarn, you have a fiber source on your farm. They can be milked. Some sheep can be milked. We don't milk ours. We've considered developing maybe a couple of them or so just to try it out, but currently we're not. But in the end, the biggest benefit is that they're small. So if I want to go out there and butcher a few lambs, I can handle that pretty much on my own, especially with Shetland, because they're the smallest breed of sheep, natural breed of sheep in the United States. So I can easily, I can pick up my ram. I can pick him up. He only weighs about 120 pounds. So it's much easier to do, and that's why I choose that. But be careful with sheep. If you've never done sheep before, be careful, because not all sheep are created equally. Some sheep are just, they're difficult to raise because they're so fragile. Other sheep aren't. Some sheep, if you don't butcher them at a certain time, the meat starts getting, and you've got this mutton, and the mutton's really strong. This breed of sheep, you can butcher them at 2-3. They're pecking at my camera stand. Sorry if the camera's shaking. You can butcher them at 2 and 3 years old, and you don't have that musty, tasting meat. So that's a good benefit. And I know the people are like, well, what about goats? Goats can work too. Okay. I'm not a fan of goats. My family likes them because they're cute, and the goats are cute, but goats are a pain in the butt. They're just ornery critters. They're ornery. And rams can be ornery too, especially when it's mating season. But for the most part, sheep are pretty gentle. They're pretty docile, especially these, and so for that reason, and they're not constantly trying to get out. Goats, you know, it's like a daily challenge. You know, they're trying to go around. Okay, what can we do? What can we tear up, and where can we get loose? Whereas sheep, as long as they got food and water, they're not going anywhere. They don't want to go anywhere. They're content with that. So that's why. Doing this, we are, for the most part, we are pretty much food independent. We produce our meat independent. We produce the meat that we want. So pretty much all the protein that we take in, we produce here on meat protein between the eggs and the meat. And so that's not as difficult as you think to do that. Now, other foods, it may be more difficult to eventually get to a point to where you're independent. You're not depending upon the system, trying to get a shot in. They were walking around, but now they've laid back down again. But meat really is not that difficult. So that's something that I encourage you to do. And even if you have a small place, you may only have an acre, a half acre, chickens, you can grow chickens in most city backyards. So you can do that. Of course, some of them don't like roosters, and that's the only way that you're going to keep the flock going. You'll have to work that out on what the laws are in your areas. But certainly if you live out in the country, even with just a couple of acres of land, it's not that difficult to produce quite a bit of food for you and your family. So I would encourage you to do that. These chickens, they love my feet. And again, with these birds, if you have any questions, ask me. They work great for producing a lot of food, but you got to be a little careful with them. There's a little bit of a learning curve with them. All right, folks, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.